Roland Mumford with Mumford.law. Imagine you're driving down the street. There's a police car in front of you. The officer is apparently distracted, missing the green light. You simply toot your horn, nothing that would be considered disrespectful. And the police officer, who was actually probably going to be going straight, decides to turn his left signal on to be harassing you and disrespectful to you, to possibly obstruct you from being able to make your left turn in retaliation. So you decide to go straight to avoid any conflict, make a loop around on another block, and then go on your way home on your normal direction, which you would have made if you had made that left turn. Well, that's what occurred in Troy, New York in 24. A man who was working hard, he's wearing a yellow working vest. You can tell he's a laborer. He pulls over in front of his home, but because of where the trash cans were parked, he had to park about a foot off the curb. His girlfriend is on scene, fortunately, to be able to record video. And then out of nowhere comes that police officer who steps out of the vehicle and then begins to harass you about tooting your horn and alleges that there is a law that makes it illegal for you to honk your horn. Now, we'll take a look at that New York law and bring up the statute and analyze it. It's very vague and ambiguous. It does have some language where the officer may have been correct in these circumstances, but he may have been incorrect. But why would an officer take the time to circle a block or drive around a couple blocks and go to a man's home to proceed to arrest him because a man just simply honked his horn to let him know that the light was green? If it wasn't enough that the officer arrested him for tooting his horn, because he probably just tapped it, keeping the audible level of the horn very minimal, then the officer also alleges to arrest him or claim an infraction that the car is parked more than a foot or too far off the side of the curb. Can you believe that? And then, if that wasn't enough, arrests this hardworking man claiming resisting arrest. If an officer showed up at your home because you tooted your horn, you would naturally offer some passive resistance, saying, "Why are you harassing me? Why are you bothering me about honking a horn when you should be out here with real issues of public safety?" And the man tenses up a little bit, some passive resistance, maybe locking his arms or such other resistance, so minimal that the law deems that as passive resistance insufficient for any level of excessive force. Then about 2 or 3 officers show up on scene and they proceed to arrest him, take him to the ground. Because of the way they manhandle his arms and his wrists and his forearms, now he is not able to perform at his full earning capacity. Apparently may have some medical restrictions in the type of labor that he can perform, but he has to go back to work in pain. Now he has filed a federal lawsuit, which we may take a look at also. So let's take a look at this news clip to kind of get the backstory. And then I'm going to play the body cam video and we'll do a step-by-step analysis and then take a look at the statute and possibly look at the lawsuit.
Attorney Art Frost says he has never seen anyone ticketed for beeping their horn at a traffic light before. But that was just the beginning of this story that might wind up in front of a federal jury.
It was 5 o'clock in the evening, July 19th, 2024. Matthew Edwards was about to arrive home from work, but when the traffic light at the corner of 3rd and Madison Street in South Troy turned green, the car in front of him didn't move. It happened to be a Troy police car with an officer, Taylor Gamache, inside.
The light was red and then it turned green. The officer in the patrol vehicle didn't notice. Maybe he's doing official work. Maybe he's looking at his cell phone. Who knows?
When the officer turned left, Edwards rerouted.
Mr. Edwards doesn't like the vibe that he's getting, turns off his turn signal and goes straight, circles around the block to go back to his house.
When Edwards got home, his garbage cans were in the street, and so he got out of his car to wheel them in. That's when Officer Gamache pulled up with body cam rolling.
It's not harassment. New York.
That whole block.
That's right, sir. You're unlawfully using your horn. If you're not going to be compliant, you're going to be detained.
Minutes later, backup arrived from Troy Police and a Rensselaer County Sheriff's deputy. Edwards asked to speak with a supervisor, but instead he wound up being tackled to the ground and in handcuffs, charged with illegally tooting his horn, parking too far from the curb, and resisting arrest. Charges that were all later dismissed by a Troy City Court judge. But the damage had been done, according to Art Frost, and he said it's permanent.
Well, he has a badly injured arm that required surgery. He's going to need probably future surgery. He is somehow forcing himself back to work because it's been a year. The man has to eat. He had to go back to work in some fashion. Can't work to the capacity he used to, but he's got to do something. Hey!
Attorney Art Frost, who provided that body cam footage for us, wrote in his legal brief, the defendant Gamache undertook his actions with evil motive or intent and with reckless or callous indifference. I did reach out to the mayor's office today for comment. I was told that because it is pending litigation, they cannot comment.
Let's take a look at this video now. This is the body cam video. This is where it begins, where the officer had apparently looped around the block and then comes back to find the gentleman's home and start this retaliation all over tooting a horn at him. So now you see the gentleman is moving his trash can.
Travis. This is harassment. It's not harassment.
But you have no reason to be.
It's.
So here the officer is claiming harassment. He clearly knows that this officer is upset about him tooting the horn at the officer. And you'll notice here on the left, the car is parked about a foot and a half off the curb. And that's something else that that officer decides to arrest him for or cite him for. You see that he was moving the trash cans around, which was one of the reasons why he had parked the car where it is.
Is this your vehicle?
I don't have to answer no questions.
Is this your vehicle?
I don't have to. Excuse me.
No, you decided you want to get out of the car.
Excuse me.
No, sir.
Excuse me.
Stop. You're not going back.
Again, this is harassment. This is harassment.
Enough.
I need to talk to your superior.
Enough.
Please call your
Do you
superior.
have a driver's license?
Can you please call your superior.
Do you have a driver?
Now he's doing a smart thing here. He's saying that he wants to speak to a superior. In most police departments, there's a policy that if you want to speak to a supervisor to come on scene, and very often the supervisors will be much more knowledgeable about the law and policy and what should be the correct practices of the younger officer. Let's take a look at
Can you
this.
please call your superior?
Do you have a driver's
Can you
license?
please call your superior?
Do you have a driver's
Can you
license?
please call your superior?
You see that this gentleman is speaking well. He's a laborer. Apparently, I thought he was wearing a reflective vest. It's a shirt, apparently. Looks like he's a hardworking man. His pants are dirty. He's just trying to come home from a hardworking day, and he's got to be harassed by an officer over tooting a horn. He's being respectful to the officer, though I don't think he has to be. But when you are respectful to the officer under these aggravating circumstances and you file that federal lawsuit, you're going to be an empathetic figure to the jury, and it's important to always remember that.
Act this way, then it's going to go a certain way.
I'm a
How you doing?
tax-paying citizen. Please call
Hey,
your.
lawful traffic stop. Who's this gentleman to you?
I did nothing.
Okay.
I did nothing.
So he's on lawful traffic stop, and he's going to talk himself into handcuffs because he doesn't want to identify himself, and he's going to be difficult. So, if you want to talk some sense into him, that'd be great.
Me around the whole block. He followed me. He's harassing me right now.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to say
Oh, am I not allowed to follow people?
my trash can. Exactly.
I'm not mad at all. You,
I'm gonna go because I got a bridal shower.
yeah. And you're parked in the middle of the street.
Thank you. I'm glad I had a witness to that.
They incorrect.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay. It's got nothing to do with that.
Exactly. It has everything to do with
I don't care that you
bro.
beat.
Can I get your commanding officer?
I don't care that you beat.
Simply. Thank you.
Another officer second on scene.
Hey, what's up, Warren?
And I believe the lady that you see over standing by the white car, I believe that's his girlfriend, who begins to start video recording by pulling out her phone.
He's with the county.
She
Okay.
She said he pulled
Because I'm asking for him.
Yeah, it's a law.
So apparently this lady in this white car was a witness that witnessed the incident. which he's very lucky to have, as hopefully he got the contact information or the plate to be able to find her. Usually you can always find somebody if you get the plate number. We can call the county clerk's office, attorneys, private investigators, and some other individuals are usually allowed to be able to pull the information of who owns that vehicle. My understanding under the law is that plate information and the registration is public information, but these county clerks, I don't know if they're necessarily following law, but they will usually only give it to me if I acknowledge myself as an attorney.
You're on my pelvis. You're on my pelvis.
Stop resisting.
You're on my pelvis. I'm not resisting. You're on my pelvis.
Stop.
No, because he's been following me around the whole block.
Stop now. Stop.
Don't want to touch me. This is hateful. Put your hands behind your back. What are you doing that for? What are you doing that for? My hands are doing me. Put your hands behind me. I can't put my hands behind my back if you're on your stomach. On your stomach. I can't.
How many times have you seen this in videos where the officer, especially the video that I did yesterday, where officers are holding down an individual with their knees or their forearms in such a way, and they think that the person may be resisting and not actually releasing their arms. But because of body mechanics, they may not be able to position their arms in a way to be in compliance with the officer's request. I mean, our elbows only turn certain ways, our wrists only turn certain ways. And particularly when they grab those arms and they throw the arms back, these officers think that someone's resisting when in fact they're not. It's just because of the axis on which the shoulder or the elbow or the wrist is either turning or not able to turn. They consider that resistance and then begin to escalate the matter.
Okay, we're gonna help you.
You're not helping me. You're making it worse.
I'm not sure why this looks like the video player keeps it.
You recording this? Are you seeing him shaking his head? Get their names. All of that. Y'all doing this for no reason. Bro, what are y'all doing this?
Why are you fighting?
Why are you doing this?
Stop.
Why are you doing this?
Stand up.
Lieutenant who?
Stand up.
Gamachi?
Put your foot on.
Why are you doing this?
Gamachi is the name of the officer that he sues in the case.
I'm asking you, why are you doing this?
That he sued the hornet.
This is super tight. This is super
Okay, we're gonna help you. Stop.
Bro. Man, bro, my left hand.
Well, this
We're gonna help you.
You're not helping me. You're making it
they get it for honking the horn, resisting the arrest, and citing him for being off-curve.
You're pushing me.
All these charges were dismissed.
Stop.
Yeah, can you release some of that stuff?
Stop.
I'm asking you, please.
I'm gonna tell you one time and one time only.
It's cutting my wrist.
Listen.
Asking you.
He continually complains about the pain that he's having with his wrist and his forearm, and that later comes up as part of his lawsuit that he ends up having some type of permanent or long-term impairment and that he's not able to perform at his full earning capacity in the type of work that he does. And he apparently needs additional surgeries.
No answer.
You knew your law.
Steve, I have no answer.
There you go.
Obstruction of what?
Yep.
Of what?
I told you what.
To do what? For what reason?
Touch yourself.
What was
in
the
handcuffs.
reason?
Silly.
What was the reason? Again, I didn't commit a crime. There's no crime here.
Sit down.
There's no crime here.
Sit down.
What precinct am I going to?
Put your
What precinct am I going to? So she knows. Excuse me?
put your feet in.
Y'all doing this for no reason, bro. This shit is corny. Real shit.
Listen.
Don't go in my pockets.
Stop.
Don't go in my bed. Let my girl. Don't. Yo, bro, you violating my rights. You violating my rights.
Under arrest.
For what?
Obstruction.
Of what? Obstruction of what? Again, no answer.
You knew your laws, I thought.
Obstruction of what?
I thought you knew your laws.
Obstruction of what? What am I obstructing? Exactly. You have no answer for that. You have no answer. You have no answer.
You told me. You
I
said
asked
you know
you
your
a question,
laws.
commanding officer, and y'all all told me no. Right? I'm a taxpaying citizen.
You're gonna see.
Now ask
Me
me a
too.
commanding officer.
Me
You
too.
tell me you can't.
Me too.
Again, that's saying that you can't do it.
You're a
No, it's
taxpaying
saying that you
citizen?
can't do it, right?
I'm also
Exactly.
a taxpaying citizen.
You work for me when you work for me
Crazy.
with that badge.
I work for myself actually
No,
because I paid
no, you
taxes.
don't.
The officer says that he works for himself because he pays taxes, that he doesn't work for the other taxpayers. If that is not an arrogant faith and monster of such ego, I don't know what is.
I'm also a hardworking guy. He talked himself into handcuffs. This could have went a totally different way. I could have given him a verbal warning. He decided he wanted to do this. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. Nobody said he's a bad guy. I'm towing it, so I have to inventory the car.
Why are you telling us?
So that nothing is.
All right, that appears to be the end of the
Let's park more than 20 feet.
It's right here in front of his house.
So I had to do quite a bit of searching to find this horn statute in New York. It actually had to take me from one website where it discussed how hard it was to find, and then to another page, and then it actually took me to this page. So it apparently is a bit of an archaic statute. And let's take a look at this. Every motor vehicle operated or driven upon the public highways of the state shall be provided with adequate brakes and steering mechanism in good working order and sufficient to control such vehicle at all times when the same is in use, and a suitable and adequate horn or other device for signaling, which horn or device shall produce a sound sufficiently loud to serve as a danger warning, but shall not be used other than as a reasonable warning, nor be unnecessarily loud or harsh. That's a rather vague and ambiguous statute about whether or not this gentleman had violated any statute about honking the horn at the officer. Now, what is interesting is but it says, shall not be used other than as a reasonable warning. So I don't think this gentleman violated the statute. From what I had read on some of these other websites, they talk about how archaic this statute is and that it may go far as back for several decades. So we've taken a look at the news report that gave the backstory on what occurred. And then we did a play-by-play analysis of the body cam video. And we took a look at the statute regarding honking a horn there in New York. Now, for those of you that have enjoyed this video up to this point, I appreciate it. And what I'm going to do next is go through the lawsuit. That may, for some of you, you may not want to stick around for that, and that's fine. And if you don't, thank you very much for watching the video up to this point. If you're interested in taking a look at the lawsuit, this is an opportunity for me to break down what a federal lawsuit looks like when you allege a 1983 civil rights lawsuit. And I think this would be a great opportunity to do that. For those of you that want to continue watching this video, thank you very much. Let's now take a look at a draft of this lawsuit. All right. Now, here is the lawsuit that was just filed on July 3rd, 2025. And it's the gentleman, Matthew Edwards, versus the individual police officer, Taylor Gamache. I don't know how you pronounce that. He's suing the city of Troy, New York, and the Troy Police Department. I don't know how far he's going to get with this lawsuit with the city of Troy Police Department as a party, as typically a police department is not a governmental entity and therefore not a proper party for a federal civil rights lawsuit. I have at times named a police department when I was not sure about the jurisdiction, and it's always better to just add the police department as well as the city, because ordinarily the city is the proper party defendant. Better to just add the police department, let the defense file a motion to dismiss, or work out with them in advance. If they stipulate on the record that the police department is not a proper party, then you can just do a joint stipulation of dismissal. That way the lawyer, in that example, I'd cover myself. They admit that the police department is not a proper party, and then therefore I cover myself as well as protect the client. I have seen in a few situations where the police department somehow was the proper party to sue, but usually it's the city or the county that you would sue. Now, in many states, you can sue the sheriff's department. It depends upon whether that sheriff is deemed as a constitutional officer in that state. So in Tennessee, you can sue a sheriff's department. They're not deemed as a constitutional office. In Georgia, they are a constitutional office. They are protected under 11th Amendment immunity because they're considered a state constitutional officer. Therefore, you have to sue the county if you want to have a Monell liability claim. But you can always sue the officers in their individual capacity. If you sue the police officers in their official and individual capacity, which is often done, suing that officer in their official capacity is the same thing as suing the municipality that is over that police department. I've kind of now just gotten to the point that I don't do that anymore, and I don't file as many Monell claims anymore because the immunity level for the city is just so high to overcome. So let's take a look at this. So if you were to file a lawsuit on your own or draft, this is something that may help you. So we've got the party and the defendants. We've got the jurisdiction and the venue. He's seeking compensatory and punitive damages. You cannot get punitive damages against a governmental entity. You can against the officer in his individual capacity under 1983 litigation. But generally speaking, you cannot get punitive damages in most federal lawsuits against a governmental entity, regardless of the claims. I'm not going to say you can never do so. I'm just going to say in nearly the majority of cases, you cannot sue a city for punitive damages. So here he states the officers, and now let's get into the facts. He states that this occurrence occurred on July 19th, 2024. And also remember that the statute of limitations for filing a Section 1983 lawsuit, if you're claiming a Fourth Amendment arrest claim, it is whatever the statute of limitations is for negligence in your state. That's what the federal statute says. It goes by the negligent tort statute in your state. But that statute of limitations begins on the date of your false arrest, not the dismissal of your charges. If you are alleging a malicious prosecution claim, then the statute of limitations for that date will be the same period of time as I just discussed. However, that statute of limitations does not begin to run, meaning the clock doesn't start until your charges are dismissed. Again, that is for a claim of malicious prosecution. So it states that the defendant initiated a purportedly legal traffic stop of plaintiff for allegedly violating New York vehicle and traffic law leading up to this arrest. The plaintiff was stationary in traffic, stopped behind the defendant, facing in the same direction, with his left vehicle turn signal on, intent on turning left. The defendant was occupied with something in his vehicle, something was taking his attention. Apparently, the plaintiff sees that the defendant had not perceived the light changing from red to green. So I'm a little bit confused. I thought that the officer was going straight. So I'm not sure if they're saying here that he was going straight and then decided to go left just to aggravate the plaintiff, Mr. Edwards, or they were both turning left. So the defendant is occupied with something in his vehicle. Something's taking his attention. After waiting a bit, the plaintiff sees that the defendant does not see that the light has changed and just gives a brief toot on his vehicle horn. Although the defendant does not have his left turn signal on, as the vehicle and traffic law requires, he turns left ostensibly because he sees plaintiff's left turn signal on. So that's where I'm confused. I don't know if he was going to go straight and he intentionally decided to turn left to aggravate the plaintiff or not. Seeing this and desiring to avoid conflict, the plaintiff turns off his left turn signal and travels straight, taking an alternative route to his home, as I previously discussed. The defendant circles the area and re-encountering plaintiff in front of his home. Now, what was interesting in that video, you see the officer state that the plaintiff, that Mr. Edwards, had made the decision to get out of his vehicle as if this was some traffic stop. I don't believe that that was a legal and valid traffic stop when he was circling around and pulling in front of the gentleman's home. I don't believe that was a legal traffic stop subject to laws. I believe he had pulled over, he was home, and And I believe now he was on the curtilage of his property. And that's my legal opinion. Now, here we get into the issue about the garbage cans. Because there's an unrelated vehicle in front of plaintiff's home, and because his garbage cans are in the street obstructing his approach to park, Mr. Edwards was forced to park more than a foot from the curve to retrieve his garbage cans with the intent of moving his garbage cans out of the way and then properly parking his vehicle. So this police officer, one of the reasons he wants to arrest him is over this issue of where he had parked, but he never even took the opportunity to understand what he was doing and give Mr. Edwards the benefit of the doubt. Let's just get straight to the legal claims. The first cause of action here we have is a 1983 claim. This is the false arrest claim, but it appears that they use the term falsely in prison, but this is the Fourth Amendment claim. They write this lawsuit quite a bit different than I do. I mean, they're citing Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, and Eighth Amendment rights. He's discussing something about a malicious prosecution against him. So I can't determine whether this is a malicious prosecution lawsuit also. I'm not going to, maybe that's just in that jurisdiction how they draft their lawsuits. I'm not going to pass any opinions about how an attorney in New York drafts their lawsuits, but it's just different than how I draft mine. Ordinarily, what we would do in our lawsuit is we would have each claim for each violation of constitutional rights. If there was a First Amendment claim, we would have that. Then under the Fourth Amendment, we would have that. And we may break that down into whether it's a seizure, detention, or false arrest. Then you'd have another count for malicious prosecution. Then you would have another section for a 14th Amendment due process violation claim. Again, I'm not here to pass judgment. Attorneys draft their lawsuits in different ways. Then here we get to a common law claim. In many of our 1983 cases, we will add a state claim for assault, battery, and false imprisonment, and that appears to be what they're doing here. Unlawful arrest, illegal detention, maybe they're asserting state rights. There can be certain state actions that you can file that are the same as the false arrest claims. Let's see here. I'm not sure what they're alleging here. Second cause of action against all defendants alleging a constitutional tort in violation of the New York State Constitution. Lawful arrest, illegal detention. Apparently, they're filing the same Fourth Amendment claims, but there may be some New York statutes that allow them to file this particular claim. I'm not going to pass any comment on that because I'm not familiar with New York law. So here we have third cause of action against the defendant city of Troy. This is the 1983 claim. This is what we refer to as the Monell claim. And this is where you're going to see language about that they're responsible for establishing policies and procedures to be utilized by employees. And that's where you're going to see a whole bunch of language about policies and procedures. These are very difficult claims to uphold because you've got to find that there's a pattern and practice of similar other violations. You're practically going to have to go show that there were other officers that go around and arrested people for honking the horn. You see language here, engaged in an ongoing pattern of official abuse of power as it relates to unauthorized arrests, false imprisonment, malicious prosecution. That's kind of a very broad claim there. And then it's talking about a pattern of official abuse and power, but a false imprisonment prosecution. I'm not sure if this claim is going to hold up. It's just very broad, and I don't see the specifics about the issue of the horn issue. But again, I'm not going to pass judgment on attorneys in other states. All right, here we go. Here is the fourth cause of action, assault, battery, false imprisonment. Now here I just see assault and battery, but I usually allege the same state law claims, but I also have a false, maybe in New York they don't have false imprisonment. I'm not sure. But here then, this is where you would add the state law claim for assault and battery. And what they're saying is that the act of the arrest, the seizure, is a battery and assault, which it can be. But it helps to have facts where you have more physical interaction, as we saw in this particular case. They allege a fifth cause of action against all defendants for false arrest and malicious prosecution. So apparently, New York, being quite a liberal state, they may have some additional civil rights statutes. And here, intention or negligent infliction of emotional distress, that's a very difficult claim in many states. In some states, they have that you can't sue for that particular, and there may be certain statutory immunities against that claim. Well, guys, thank you very much for your time watching this video. Please help me get to that 10,000 subscriber goal by July 31st. Have a great day. Thank you for sticking around reviewing this lawsuit.